Who is Erling Haaland?
Well, although millions know Haaland as one of football's greatest strikers, very few truly know the remarkable story behind his success.
Right. Was Haaland simply born with extraordinary talent? How did a young boy from Norway become one of the world's deadliest goal scorers? What sacrifices shaped his journey? And what lessons can we learn from his life?
Yeah, those are exactly the questions we need to answer today. Because when you watch him play now, you see this giant, right, a player tearing through defenses. But, forces of nature are built. They do not just appear.
Exactly. And I want to say welcome to all of you. Welcome to both our viewers and our listeners. We are talking directly to you. This deep dive is about a football legend, but it is also a fun and natural way to improve your English.
Right. By joining us today, you will improve your English listening skills. You will learn really useful vocabulary and context.
Yeah, and you will understand natural American English conversations. You will improve your pronunciation, and you will build confidence in spoken English.
Absolutely. Because Haaland's story, it really teaches valuable lessons. I mean, we're going to see incredible lessons about discipline, perseverance, confidence, resilience, and, just believing in your dreams.
So let's start with this myth of the instant superstar. People look at Haaland and they see this massive athlete. They just assume he won the genetic lottery, right? Like he was born perfect. So let's look at his family. Where does this physical profile actually come from?
Well, his roots are definitely elite, but the starting point usually surprises people. He was actually born in Leeds, England.
Wait, England? Not Norway.
Yeah, England. He was born on July 21, 2000. And the reason he was born in England is because of his father. His father, Alf Inge Haaland, most people call him Alfie, was a professional football player.
Right, a high-level player in the English Premier League.
Exactly. Alfie played midfield and defense for Leeds United at the time Erling was born. And, Alfie was a very tough, aggressive player. He later played for Manchester City and Nottingham Forest.
So the Premier League is famous for being incredibly tough. It is very physical. So on one side, Erling gets the genetics of a tough Premier League player.
Yeah, exactly. But we cannot forget his mother. Honestly, his mother might be the real secret to his athletic success.
Oh, really? Tell us about his mother.
Her name is Marita Braut. And in the 1990s, she was a national champion athlete in Norway. But she was not just a runner. She was a champion in the heptathlon.
The heptathlon. Wow. Let's explain what that is for a second.
Yeah.
The heptathlon is a very difficult track and field event. It actually combines 7 different events into one competition.
Right. It is incredibly grueling.
Yeah. You have to sprint over hurdles, you high jump, you throw the heavy shot put, you run 200 meters, you long jump, you throw the javelin, and then at the very end, you have to run 800 meters.
It is exhausting just thinking about it.
It really is. I mean, it requires this rare combination. You need explosive speed for jumping and throwing, but you also need deep endurance for the running.
Exactly. And biologically, that is a very rare mix. Usually an athlete is either built for short, explosive power, or they are built for long endurance. His mother had both.
So when we look at Erling Haaland today, we are really looking at the perfect combination. The tactical brain of a Premier League footballer and the explosive power of a track champion.
Yeah, he absolutely won the genetic lottery. The raw materials were all there.
Yeah.
But, good genes do not automatically make you a great football player.
Right, you have to develop those skills. So what happened next? Because the family did not stay in England, did they?
No, they did not. They moved back to Norway in 2003. Erling was only 3 years old. They moved to a town called Bryn.
And why did they move back so early?
Well, it was because Alfie's football career ended early. He had a very severe knee injury.
Oh, right. Football fans always talk about that famous tackle. Manchester United's Roy Keane made a terrible tackle on Alfie. People say that tackle ended his career.
Yeah, that is the famous story. Roy Keane made a very dangerous tackle on Alfie's right knee. It was a red card offense. But, our sources clarify something important. Alfie actually retired because of chronic problems in his other knee, his left knee.
Really? So it was not just the tackle?
No, it was basically years of wear and tear. His joints just broke down. But the result was the same. The family left the bright lights of England and moved to a quiet, rural life in Norway.
And this quiet life in Norway is where he really starts to develop. Now, you would think a professional football father would immediately make his son play football every single day. We see that a lot, right? Parents pushing kids into one sport too early.
Yeah, early specialization.
Yeah.
But that is not what they did at all. It was actually the exact opposite. His parents encouraged him to try many different sports.
Oh, that is interesting. What other sports did he play?
He played team handball. He played golf. He did a lot of track and field. They just let him move and play without any heavy pressure to be a football star.
I think that is brilliant. When kids play multiple sports, they build so many different motor skills. Like handball requires jumping and throwing while people are pushing you. Golf requires extreme mental
Right,
focus.
and track and field builds pure coordination.
Yeah.
By not forcing him to only play football, they let his nervous system develop naturally.
Yeah.
And we actually have proof of how athletic he was as a kid.
Proof. What kind of proof?
Well, in 2006, when Erling was only 5 years old, he set a world record for his age group.
Wait, a world record at 5 years old? I mean, what can a 5-year-old even do to set a record?
The standing long jump. He jumped 1.63 meters. That is about 5 feet and 4 inches.
Oh my goodness. Think about that. A 5-year-old boy standing completely still, jumping 1.63 meters through the air. That is just explosive power. It is his mother's genetics showing up early.
Absolutely. The engine was working perfectly. But, an engine still needs a steering wheel. He needed to actually learn football. So he joined the local club, Brian FK, when he was 5.
How did his first training session go?
His first coach, Alf Ingve Bernsen, remembers it very clearly. They put this 5-year-old in a group with boys who were a year older.
That can be scary for a little kid, playing with bigger kids.
Yeah, but Erling was not scared. The coach said Erling's very first 2 touches of the ball both resulted in goals.
2 touches, 2 goals. Wow.
His impact was immediate.
So the story seems pretty simple, right? He was a big, strong prodigy who just pushed past everyone because he was bigger.
Actually, no. That is a huge misconception. People look at him now and think he was always a giant. But according to a former Norwegian player named Gunnar Halle, Erling was very different as a teenager. Halle watched him play at age 15.
And what did he say?
He said Erling was actually quite small for his age. He was skinny. He had not gone through his big growth spurt yet. So physically, he was at a big disadvantage against older boys.
Oh, wow. That is a huge turning point, because if you are a skinny 15-year-old on a football pitch, you cannot just push defenders away. You will lose every physical fight.
So how did he survive? He survived by using his brain. This is where we see his discipline and perseverance.
Yeah.
Because he was small, he had to develop an elite spatial radar.
A spatial radar, meaning he had to understand the empty space on the pitch better than anyone else.
Exactly. He had to constantly look around. He had to know exactly where the defenders were. He had to outthink them, not outmuscle them.
He had to master the blindside run. For our listeners who might be learning football terms, a blindside run is when a forward runs into the space behind a defender's back. The defender cannot see the forward unless they turn their head completely away from the ball.
Right. And if you're small, you have to be a ghost. You have to arrive in that empty space a fraction of a second before the ball gets there. So being a late bloomer physically forced him to build a world-class football IQ.
That makes perfect sense. His brain was doing all the heavy work, and it worked, didn't it?
It worked incredibly well. Even though he was undersized, he scored 18 goals in just 14 matches for the Brian reserve team.
18 goals in 14 games. That is amazing.
Yeah. And he was so smart on the pitch that they promoted him. He made his senior professional debut for Brian in the 2nd division when he was only 15.
Just 15 years old playing professional football. But Brian is a small local club. To really test his skills, he needed a bigger challenge. And that brings us to his next move. He transferred to a club called Mold.
Yes. And the move to Mold was incredibly important because of the manager there. The manager was Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He is an absolute legend in Norway.
Exactly.
He was a famous striker for Manchester United. He was known as a very smart, clinical finisher. He would watch the game from the bench, find the defender's weak spots, and then come into the game and score.
Right. And Solskjaer took a personal interest in young Erling. Our sources say Solskjaer spent hours working one-on-one with him. They did not just practice basic shooting. They studied the tiny physical details of scoring goals.
What kind of details? Like, what does a legendary striker teach a teenager?
Well, they worked on how to position his hips before kicking the ball, how to lock his ankle, how to watch the goalkeeper's body weight in that split second before shooting.
Oh, that is so specific.
Yeah, Solskjaer taught him how to stay completely calm under pressure, how to slow down his heart rate in the penalty area so he could make a cold, calculated shot instead of just panicking and kicking the ball hard.
That is the difference between a good player and a great player. Precision. And we really see the result of this training in one specific match, don't we?
We do. He was 17 years old. Mold was playing against SK Brann. Now, Brann was at the very top of the league, and they had a great defense.
Okay, so a very tough opponent.
Very tough. And in that single match, The 17-year-old Erling Haaland scored 4 goals.
4 goals in one game against the best team in the league.
Yes, in just a matter of minutes, he completely destroyed the best defense in Norway.
Okay, so at 17, he is scoring 4 goals in a single professional game. At this point, every big club in Europe must be calling him. Real Madrid, Chelsea, Juventus. Usually when a kid does this, they take the money and run to a massive club. But he didn't, did he?
No, he didn't. And the reason why is something very rare in sports today. Erling and his father, Alfie, had created a strict 5-year plan.
A 5-year plan.
Yes. They sat down and strategically planned out his career. The main rule of this plan was development over status. They knew that if a 17-year-old goes to a massive club like Juventus, he will probably just sit on the bench.
Right. He would be behind established, older superstars, and sitting on the bench does not help a young player get better.
Exactly. It stunts their growth.
But think about the discipline that requires. I mean, imagine being 17 and someone offers you millions of dollars in a famous jersey and you say, no, thank you, I need more practice. That kind of patience is so rare. In our world today, everybody wants instant success.
They really do. But Haaland chose the slower, harder path. He knew he needed to play 90 minutes every week to really learn all those tactical lessons Solskjaer taught him.
So where did the 5-year plan take him next? He outgrew Norway. He needed a new challenge, but not a club that was too big.
Right. In January 2019, he chose to sign with Red Bull Salzburg in Austria.
Salzburg is a fascinating choice. They play a very aggressive, high-energy style of football. It is called counterpressing. They run fast and pass forward quickly. But even there, he did not just start playing immediately, did he?
No, they integrated him very slowly. For the first few months, he was mostly a backup. He sat on the bench and watched the main striker, known as Davor. He was learning the Austrian league. He was getting physically stronger. He was just waiting for his moment.
And that moment finally came in the summer of 2019. This is the moment that made the whole world notice him. He went to Poland to play for Norway in the FIFA Under-20 World Cup.
Yeah. And there was one match in that tournament that defined everything. Norway played against Honduras. The final score of that match was Norway 12, Honduras 0.
12-0. Wow.
And Erling Haaland scored 9 of those goals.
Wait, 9 goals by himself?
Yes, 9 goals in one match.
I really want our listeners to understand how crazy that is. Scoring 3 goals is called a hat trick, and that is a huge achievement. Scoring 9 goals in an international FIFA match sounds impossible. It sounds like a mistake in a video game. It means he was just so much faster and smarter than everyone else on the field.
Exactly. He won the Golden Boot for the whole tournament just from that one single game.
What does a game like that do to a 19-year-old's confidence?
It changes everything. It creates this massive self-belief. When he went back to Salzburg for the new season in the fall of 2019, he was completely different mentally. He knew he could dominate. And we saw that confidence right away in the UEFA Champions League.
The Champions League, that is the biggest stage in European club football. The lights are bright, the music is loud, and you're playing the best teams in the world. Young players are supposed to be nervous. So in September 2019, he makes his Champions League debut against Genk, a team from Belgium. What happened?
Well, he definitely did not look nervous. In the very first 45 minutes of his debut, he scored 3 goals. A first-half hat-trick.
In his debut?
Yeah. He became the youngest player in history to score a first-half hat-trick in their Champions League debut. And he didn't stop there. He ended up scoring in 5 consecutive Champions League matches that season.
5 matches in a row. This is where we see that skinny kid from Brine suddenly transform. He had a massive growth spurt. He was big now. The sports car engine was put inside a heavy tank.
Right, the perfect physical specimen.
And there's a great moment in that match against Genk. After he scores his 3rd goal, he doesn't just run around screaming. He walks over to the Salzburg fans and he formally bows to them.
Yeah, bowing is such a confident move. It shows he knew he belonged on that massive stage. He was there to entertain them.
But, you know, when a teenager gets that famous that fast, they often become arrogant. We see young stars ruin their careers all the time because they cannot handle the sudden fame. How did he stay grounded?
He comes back to his family. His father, Alfie, knew how dangerous the media could be. Our sources share a quote from Jesse Marsch, the American manager of Salzburg at the time. Marsch said that Haaland had a, quote, really solid foundation to understand how to deal with these moments because of his father and family.
Right. Alfie acted like a shield. He protected Erling from the media pressure so Erling could just focus on playing football.
Exactly. And he needed that shield because after the Champions League group stage, every major club wanted to buy him. The 5-year plan was moving fast.
Manchester United wanted him, Juventus wanted him. But in December 2019, he makes another incredibly smart decision. He signs with Borussia Dortmund in Germany.
Yeah, he moved to Dortmund for a transfer fee between 20 and 22.5 million euros.
Which is actually a very low price for a player that good. But why did he choose Dortmund?
Because Dortmund was the perfect place to develop. They play in a massive stadium with 80,000 fans. They play a fast, attacking style of football. And most importantly, they promised him he would be the starting striker.
Once again, he chose playing time over sitting on the bench at a bigger club. And his debut in Germany, I mean, it is just like a movie.
It really is. In January 2020, Dortmund was playing FC Augsburg. Haaland did not start the game. He was on the bench. Dortmund was losing, and they were struggling. So the coach puts him in the game in the second half.
He is stepping into a totally new league, playing against tough German defenders.
Right, and within 23 minutes of stepping onto the pitch, he scored 3 goals.
Another hat-trick in 23 minutes.
Yes. He completely turned the game around and won the match for Dortmund.
It just defies logic. It normally takes months for a player to adapt to a new country and a new league. He adapted in 23 minutes.
And he kept doing it. During his time at Dortmund, he played 89 matches and scored 86 goals.
Basically a goal every single game.
Yeah, he won the German Cup, the DFB Pokal, and he became the fastest player in history to score 50 goals in the Bundesliga. It took him only 50 games.
We really need to talk about his physical size at this point. Our sources give us his measurements, and they are terrifying for a defender. He is 1.95 meters tall. That is about 6 feet 4 inches, and he weighs around 90 kilograms of pure muscle.
Right, he is huge.
But the sources also say he was timed running a 60-meter sprint in just 6.62 seconds.
Let's explain how crazy that is. A time of 6.62 seconds in the 60-meter sprint is fast enough to qualify for a professional indoor track championship. Moving a 1.95-meter, 90-kilogram body that fast requires incredible force.
It is his mother's heptathlon genetics in full effect. I mean, how do you even defend against that? If you try to fight him physically, he is too strong. If you try to back away, he is too fast.
You really cannot defend it. He is basically unplayable. And because he was so unstoppable in Germany, the final step of his 5-year plan was ready. In the summer of 2022, he moved to the absolute top of club football. Manchester City paid his release clause.
Ah, a release clause. That is a very smart contract detail. When he signed with Dortmund, his agents put a specific rule in the contract. It said that if another team offered exactly 60 million euros later on, Dortmund legally had to let him leave.
Exactly. They controlled his future from the start. So for 60 million euros, he moved back to England to play in the Premier League.
And the Premier League is the hardest, most physical league in the world. Plus, Manchester City was managed by Pep Guardiola.
Right, and that was a big question mark. Guardiola's teams play a very specific way. They use short passes, they keep the ball all game, and they rarely use a big traditional striker.
Yeah, lots of journalists thought Haaland would fail there. They thought he wouldn't touch the ball enough because he likes to sprint into open space, not play short passes.
But all that mental resilience he built up over the years prepared him perfectly. He didn't just survive in England, he destroyed the records.
He really did. In his very first season, he scored 36 goals in the Premier League. He broke the all-time single-season scoring record.
Across all competitions that year, he scored 52 goals in 53 games. And that was the missing piece Manchester City needed. Because of him, they won the treble.
Let's define the treble for our English learners. Winning the treble means a team wins the 3 biggest trophies in one single season: their domestic league, their domestic cup, and the Champions League. It is the hardest thing to do in European club football. And City won the Premier League, the FA Cup, and the Champions League in his very first year.
He changed what everyone thought was possible in England. He became the fastest player to hit 50 Premier League goals, then the fastest to 100. In the Champions League, he reached 50 goals in only 49 games.
Just to compare, the old record was held by Ruud van Nistelrooy, and it took him 62 games to score 50 goals. Haaland did it in 49.
It is historic. And, Pep Guardiola does not usually praise players easily.
Okay.
But our sources say Guardiola directly compared Haaland to Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo.
Wow, Messi and Ronaldo.
Yeah. Guardiola said that playing with Haaland is like playing with Messi or Cristiano because just having him on the field makes the whole team better.
When Pep Guardiola compares you to the 2 greatest players of this generation, the debate is over. He conquered club football completely. But club football is different from international football, and that brings us to a huge decision he had to make.
Right, his national team identity.
Because he was born in Leeds, England, he was legally allowed to play for the England national team. If he just wanted to win easy trophies, England was the obvious choice. They have world-class players at every position. Norway, on the other hand, had not qualified for a men's World Cup since 1998.
But he chose Norway anyway. He wanted to represent the country where he grew up. He wanted to play for the community and brine that raised him. But, that means carrying a huge burden. He was the only major superstar on the team. He was the hope of a whole nation.
And how did he handle that pressure? Our sources talk about his incredible journey in the 2026 FIFA World Cup, right?
Yes. The European qualification games for the 2026 World Cup were a huge emotional test. He had to carry the team, and he delivered. He scored 16 goals in just 8 qualifying games.
16 goals in 8 games.
Yeah, including one game against Moldova where he scored 5 goals. By himself, he pushed Norway to qualify for the 2026 World Cup in North America. It ended a 28-year drought for Norway.
That is just beautiful. And there is a poetic symmetry to it, too. The 2026 World Cup was played in North America. Well, back in 1994, the World Cup was also in the United States. And his father, Erling Haaland, played for Norway in that tournament at Giant Stadium. Decades later, his son goes to the same country, wearing the same Norway jersey, but this time as the best striker in the world.
It must have been incredibly emotional for the family. And Norway didn't just show up to the 2026 World Cup to say hello. They actually played amazing football. They beat Ivory Coast, and they even shocked the world by beating Brazil in the knockout rounds.
They beat Brazil.
Yeah, and they made it all the way to the quarterfinals before losing a very close game to England in extra time. Erling scored 7 goals in the tournament. He proved he could dominate the World Cup just like he dominated everything else. He even became Norway's all-time top scorer with 62 goals.
His legacy is completely secure. But, for this whole deep dive, we have been talking about him like he is a machine. We talk about speed and radar and tactics. But he is a human being who is Erling Haaland off the pitch. Because if you live with that much pressure every single day, you will break if you don't have a way to relax.
Oh, absolutely. And his off-pitch personality is actually really surprising. On the field, he is this aggressive monster. Off the field, he is very relaxed. He does not take himself too seriously. For example, when he was a teenager in the football academy, he and some friends actually started a rap group.
A rap group? The giant Viking striker was a rapper.
Yes. They called themselves Flow Kings.
Yeah.
They recorded a song called Kaigo Joe, and they made a music video.
That is hilarious.
And it is still on the internet. It has almost 15 million views. It is just a funny video of kids messing around and having fun.
Psychologically, I think that is a brilliant defense mechanism. If you are willing to post a silly rap video and let millions of people laugh at you, it means you are not afraid of looking foolish. You cannot be hurt by media criticism if you don't take your own image too seriously.
Exactly.
What else does he do to relax his mind?
He uses meditation. You might have seen his famous goal celebration. He sits on the grass, crosses his legs in the lotus position, rests his hands on his knees, and closes his eyes.
Right, I have seen that.
Well, that is not just a brand or a joke. He actually practices meditation. He uses deep breathing to calm his mind.
That makes total sense. Think about a stadium with 80,000 screaming people. The pressure is huge. You need a way to calm your nervous system down. Meditation lets him turn off the machine.
And what about his future? Does he want to stay in this crazy football world forever?
Actually, no. Our sources say he is deeply passionate about farming. He says that when he retires from football, he wants to go back to Norway, buy a tractor, and run a farm. He just wants to work with the land and the animal. A farmer. The man who conquered the sports world, who makes millions of dollars and flies on private jets, just wants to drive a tractor in the quiet countryside. It shows how grounded he is. He remembers his roots.
He really does. You can also see that when he plays for Norway. He leads the fans in this rhythmic chant called the Viking row to celebrate his Nordic heritage.
And he also wears his mother's name on his jersey sometimes, right?
Yes. On his international jersey, he often wears his mother's maiden name, Braut. It is a really beautiful way to honor the athletic genetics and the support his mother gave him.
So when we look at the whole picture, the funny rap videos, the meditation, the dream of being a farmer, honoring his mother, it shows us his real secret weapon. His greatest weapon isn't just his speed or his spatial radar, it is his mental balance. He does not let the pressure of football destroy his humanity.
That mental balance is what made the discipline possible, from Leeds to Brine to Mold, Salzburg, Dortmund, and Manchester City. It was not just genetic luck. It was his ability to stick to a strategic plan, to turn physical disadvantages into tactical advantages.
Exactly. And that brings us to the final takeaway for you, our listener. Yes, Erling Haaland won the genetic lottery, but raw talent is useless without a plan. It was his strategic patience, his 5-year plan that turned potential into history.
Right. It took years of quiet hard work.
So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. We live in a world that demands instant success. We quit if things don't happen immediately. But what if you stopped rushing? If you applied a 5-year plan of patience, focus, and hard work to your own biggest dream, where could you be in 5 years? Think deeply about that.
It is a powerful question.
It really is. Well, thank you so much for joining us, for listening, and for learning with us today. We hope you enjoyed diving into this incredible story and that you picked up some valuable English vocabulary along the way. Join us for the next episode of the English podcast Football Legends series.